Hey, Jeff Carlisa here from 38 Special, and we're rocking it up right here with Traders Nation.
We totally are, and welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. My pleasure to have back with us once again Anthony Saccaro. He's president of Providence Financial. Anthony, welcome back to Traders Nation. How are you today?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thanks for having me, Kurt.
Sure. Always a pleasure, Anthony. So, Anthony, here we go, man. All right, we've been hearing about this for years, and now it seems like we're here. Social Security to tap trust fund for the first time in 36 years. What does this mean for all of us?
You know, I think the media is reporting things that are maybe a little more out of whack and making things a little bigger than they are.
Okay.
What the question we get all the time is, what happens if my Social Security money runs out? What happens if I don't get it anymore? And that's not what's happening. The worst case scenario is that by 2034, the benefits across the board get reduced by 22%. So that's not good news. I don't want to be the one, telling my clients that you're going to take a quarter of their income in a cut.
Yeah.
But it's a much different scenario than having all the benefits run out completely.
Sure.
And there's a lot of things they can do to solve the problem, but it's not as bad as I think a lot of people think. It's not going away.
Yeah. All right. So, I always thought, and this is growing up, putting it into the system, and always hearing about, it's always going to run out. I always thought, well, what they're going to do is they're probably going to raise, and I'm speculating, this is what was in my head. They may never do this, Anthony, but this is always, was the twofold for me, was what I was always thinking. They're going to raise the age before you can get it. That makes sense. And before you can get your hands on it. And then they're going to reduce the benefits paying out. So I don't know. Your thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, there's a number of things that they can do to solve the problem.
Yeah.
We have to remember that when Social Security was started in 1935, there was one age, 65. That's it. And yet the average life expectancy in 35 was less than 60 years old. I mean, you weren't really supposed to get it. So not only could they raise the age, I'd be very fine with them raising the age, and they've already started to do that.
Yeah.
They've started to, they've got full retirement ages is larger than 65, and you can wait till 70. But they can also increase the amount of payroll taxes. Right now, if any amount over $120,000 does not go towards Social Security, doesn't count, they can raise that. The problem is not that they can't solve the problem.
Okay.
The problem is it's the politicians, and there's lots of ways to make it work, but the political environment is such to where until December 31st of 2033 comes around, it's not going to be an urgent enough situation to tackle now. But there's lots of ways to solve the problem.
Man, they've been kicking that can down the road for so long. Ever since I can remember pretty far back. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. And you're right. They may not fix anything until they absolutely need to, and then God, who knows what they'll come up with, okay? And another thought here, man, did they have the House in favor back in 1932 set at age 65? I bet they weren't thinking about longevity for 2018, were they at that time?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, they didn't know that. It used to be that the average, even just 25, 30 years ago, average retirement age was late 60s.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, in 1932, they were thinking 65, we got this. Nice.
That's right. And that's not what's happening. I mean, people living into their 80s today, into their 90s, and so it's different. Now, behind the scenes, though, here's the good news, and that is that the millennials are catching up, and the millennials are bigger than the baby boom generation, which is dragging on the Social Security. But as soon as they get out into the workforce en masse, I think they may be the Social Security saving grace.
Yeah, I sure hope so. At least there's one saving grace with the millennials that maybe we can count on, and that'll be it. So what's causing all this? Okay, is it the cost of living? Is it medical expenses? Certainly. What's causing all the having to tap into the trust fund? What is the cause?
Well, I think the biggest cause is the baby boomers. The baby boomers all through the 80s and 90s were in their prime working years, and that's why the 80s and 90s were so good.
Yeah.
Now the baby boomers are in their 50s to 70-year-old range, and they're slowing down. This generation, 4 times larger than any other generation except the millennials, is now dragging on the system. And back in the early years, there were 35 participants putting into Social Security for every one person taking out, and now that ratio is like 3 to 1. And it's just because there's so many people retiring so quickly, 10,000 a day at this point.
Yeah, all right. So Congress could really at any time choose to pay from benefits through the general fund. But do they really want to do that? Do they want to take from Paul to pay Peter?
Oh, no, and they're already $21 trillion in debt. I mean, that's the last thing that they want to do.
Sure.
But they don't have to. That's the key, is they don't have to. If, you hear them say 70 is the new 60 or 60 is the new 50, and it's a cliche, but it's true. People are living longer today, and I have no problem if they were to raise the Social Security to 70 years old and 70 to be the new 65.
Yeah.
That would solve this problem tremendously, and people are living longer. There's no reason why they shouldn't do that. Not for people that are collecting Social Security now, but for people that have maybe 20 years or more to collect Social Security, it gives them time to catch up.
So maybe in tandem is what we're saying here, since the life longevity is greater. Maybe in tandem that the government should adjust that. But I mean, I don't know how they could do that, considering some people are really looking forward to that. Some people absolutely do need it, and maybe they're at the cusp of collecting that Social Security that they've been put into. I don't know if they could ever do that or implement a way to do that without hurting a lot of people. Your thoughts?
Well, they can't implement it for the people that are within 20 years of retirement, for sure. And that's why I think if this is something you're going to do, you're going to grandfather it. We're talking about the 30 and maybe 40-year-olds today that this is going to affect, not the people that are within 20 years of retirement. Well, 100% agree with you.
Yeah, maybe that's fair, because you know why? Because that gives them 20, 30, 40 years to plan for that, right? So that's
exactly right.
You got a 40-year heads up. You knew. And maybe they need to do that. Okay, so I'm not against that, because I think it would hurt people today if they were to do something within the next 5 or 10 years even, let's say, okay? 30, 40 years out, they got time. They can figure it out, okay?
That's right.
What are some of the things that people can do to supplement that Social Security? Certainly financial planning and retirement comes into play, doesn't it? And we're almost out of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the difference is when you get to Social Security age, if you can't live on your Social Security, then you need to find another source of income. And for most retirees, that's going to be their portfolios. And the biggest mistake that I see retirees make is they keep investing in retirement the way that they've invested getting to retirement. And the strategy in retirement for your portfolio is completely different than the strategy getting to retirement. So you need to be investing for income and earning enough dividends and interest from your portfolio to be able to live off of without ever having to sell any shares. Right. And if you can live off the income of your portfolio, then you don't have to worry about your portfolio running out. And that's a great way to supplement Social Security and still protect your principal at the same time.
Are we seeing some of these income strategies suffering today, considering the Fed rates?
100% yes.
Yeah,
100% yes. And the rates have been so low for so long.
Right.
I've got a client that's been a waiter at a restaurant for 40 years, just making a decent wage, saved over $1.5 million, and now he was planning on retiring and living on the interest of that, and he can't live on 3 or 4% of that money, and that's what's going on across the board. And now rates are going up, but the moment they announce rate hikes, mortgage rates go up like the next day, credit card rates go up the next day, but savings rates takes a couple years to catch up. That's just the way that it is.
What's with the trailing rate on that? It just drives me crazy, because like you said, your mortgage rates go up, like they got their finger on the trigger just waiting to raise the rates on that with the banks.
Yeah, you know what? It's just a way of making more money. It's just a way of getting more profitable. They don't have to pay right away, and it's almost like there's like they have a secret meeting behind the scenes and say, hey, you raise rates in a couple of years, we'll do the same thing, and it's just a way of pocketing some more profits between now and then. So
interest rates make money. Interest payouts cost them money, so certainly they're going to wait. Anthony, where can we find you at?
Yeah, anyone could go to my website, ProvidenceFinancialInc.com.
ProvidenceFinancialInc.com. Head on over today. Anthony, appreciate your time today.
Kurt, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.